Welcome back to the balance sheet. Thank you for joining us. I am one of your co-hosts, Billy. This is my co-host, Raj. We appreciate you guys joining us this week. We got a lot to talk about. It has been a great week in women's wrestling. And again, we appreciate you guys for being here. Please like and subscribe, especially if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube. We really appreciate it, and it helps us keep this thing going for you guys and hopefully continue to make it better. So, in women's wrestling is exactly why this podcast exists. All across the board, yesterday was a big day. You had WWE Battleground, you had AEW Double or Nothing. Got some big news on the WWE side of things as it relates to women's wrestling. So, exactly what we're here to talk about, exactly what makes us excited as fans. But we are going to start with AEW Double or Nothing. Last night, Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné in the final of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. And we had Toni Storm defending her AEW Women's Championship against Mina Shirakawa. So, Raj, I will kick it to you. Let's start with Jamie and Mercedes. Spoiler alert, your 2025 Owen Hart Foundation Cup winner is Mercedes Moné. What did you think of the match?
So before I give you my opinion on the match, I wanted to talk about the history that match was. It's the first time ever in the 6-year history of AEW. Last night was the 6-year anniversary of AEW. It all started with Double or Nothing, that a women's match kicked off the show. And I'm not talking about a pre-show. I'm talking about the actual, you have to pay your $50 to watch the show start. First time ever a women's match kicked off the show. You had Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter in the finals of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. The winner goes on to face the the AEW World Champion, Women's Champion, in Texas, in Dallas. And Mercedes and Jamie flat out put out a banger, put out a classic. The match was everything I would hope it could be and more. They very much delivered on a very hot show. That show had a lot of really good matches on it across the board, top to bottom. But I do believe that Mercedes versus Jamie was the match of the night. You could make a case that the main event was, if that's your cup of tea. Personally, I loved the Mercedes Jamie match. I think the story that they told in the ring is what I was drawn to. Clearly, there was a focus on Jamie Hayter's back. That was part of the story because, as everybody knows, she was out of wrestling for about 15 months with back surgery. And so Mercedes kept targeting that part of the body. I thought it was a really well done story. It was a classic wrestling match. Like, yes, it had its spots, but the theater was inside the ring, where Mercedes was trying to weaken that part of her body to set her up for her statement maker, which obviously does stretch your back. And I thought that little touches like her doing the double knees to the back, I thought just the way she would use her forearm
Yeah.
right into the back, it was excellent. I thought that Jamie, her whole story was, I'm going to hit you with the haterade, because we saw, if anybody watched they had a very, very fantastic in-ring segment on Dynamite where they're doing the kind of sit-down interview in the ring with Renee, and Jamie hit her with the haterade and just knocked her out cold. So
Yep.
Mercedes knows, I get hit with this thing, it's curtains for me. And obviously the haterade is done where you step onto the second rope and then you do the clothesline. And in this match, she did give her the haterade, but not the full haterade. It was like a lower version of it, and Mercedes barely kicked out. So, to set up the ending of the match, again, Mercedes has won all of her matches with a rollout. in leading up to the finals. And the ending was a little bit, I think, mistimed. Clearly, it was supposed to be a roll up, not like a DDT roll up. But
Right.
I actually think that the DDT part of it made it better because obviously I saw the match from a different I saw the clip from a different angle, like a fan angle on YouTube, and it looked a lot worse than it actually was because of the camera angle. So because of that, I actually like the finish more because it's like a devastating way to end, Jamie Hayter, because Jamie obviously was somebody Mercedes struggled to get the win on. She struggled that whole match, and she finally did it with kind of a nice counter to the haterade, but in kind of a vicious manner. I think that you could make a real case that Jamie Hayter has put herself back into the main event picture with this feud. Now, I know people are going to say, well, you know what? We've seen this with Willow and we've seen this with Chris. They have this hot match with Mercedes and they go on to do absolutely nothing. Now, Willow did main event last night. So you can't say that's not main event, sorry, in the Anarchy match. But
For
that,
one of the first women in the
yeah,
match and the first to win it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But this is now, to me, it sets up so many nice feuds for Mercedes when she does win the title because Jamie almost beat her. Chris almost beat her. Willow has beaten her. Willow is the last person to pin her.
And people forget Willow not only beat her, but Willow got a visual 6 count in their match, which was if you're watching on YouTube, wearing the shirt year ago today. Happy anniversary to that match. But not only beat her, but a visual pin in that match.
Yeah, so you have those three women. You have an obvious Tony Storm rematch. You also have, if she does come into AEW, which is the rumors of Dakota Kai, you have that feud. You have a Megan Bayne feud. You have, um, if they want to go down that path, a Mina Shirakawa feud because they've have history. You have an Azumi feud as well because Azumi's the one who kind of took the belt off of her, even though she never beat her. So they're setting up a lot of nice storylines for Mercedes once she wins the title. I'm happy personally because Tony Khan has fulfilled my prophecy of it's all in at all in because I do believe in the next 7 weeks it's going to be title for title. And that is the way you get this match to main event, which I know is very important to Mercedes. I'm sure it's very important to Tony Storm. And I'm sure it's important to all of us who are women's wrestling fans because main eventing an AEW pay per view has actually been harder for the women than to main event a WWE pay per view, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, I want to give my thoughts on the match, and we'll talk about Tony and Mina. But I've been thinking all night about that main eventing, and I won't pretend that we're not biased on this show. This is the Balance Sheet Women's Wrestling Podcast, but I was also um, uh, the argument's strong, and I'm excited to get to that on why Mercedes and Tony should main event. For me, I loved the match. I think similar to how much we loved the WrestleMania triple threat. When a match is good and the crowd does everything you want the crowd to do, it makes you feel so good about everything that transpired. Um, I think this was the best crowd for a Mercedes AEW match since probably. I mean, the Willow crowd was really good. The Stephanie Vaquer crowd was really good. The Chris crowds both got very good, but they weren't good the whole match. I really loved. I think the crowd was involved and at the edge of their seat the whole match. So that I think really added to it. And you could make the argument that this was the if it wasn't the best AEW women's match um, for Mercedes, it's certainly up there. Um, Obviously, Toni and Mariah is the other kind of pantheon one, but as a straight wrestling match, this is as good as it gets. Mercedes is a wrestling genius, and a couple things about the roll up. So she beat Athena with a roll up, in homage to Manami Toyota. She beats Jamie with a roll up that had kind of the DDT head spot. She beat Chris with the roll up. Her toughest matches recently have been won with roll ups. And what I love about it is actually twofold in this. One, it is the Owen Hart Foundation Cup. Big things come in small packages. That is an entire gimmick that Owen Hart ran with, because he famously defeated his brother with a small package, right?
Victory
Wrestle
roll. It was a
Victory.
so it was so basically the way it was is Brett did the cradle. Brett was on his shoulders, did the cradle, but before he could roll him over, Owen held him and he beat him with like the half roll, like he
Yeah.
stopped him.
And then but he would win matches, and Brett did a long time. He never made a gimmick out of it. But Owen was so good at the kind of tongue-in-cheek part of wrestling, and it's such a Mercedes thing that she actually, wins her way through the Owen Hart with small packages and roll-ups and all these different variations. Here's why I think it's, even besides just a gimmick, oh, I'm going to do this for Owen. Here's why I think it's so genius. Whether you love the main event or not, Hangman and Ospreay, whether you love AEW or not, if you've watched the show, these matches are like these crazy maximum damage matches. They're trying to break each other's neck. They're dropping each other through exploding tables in the Anarchy in the Arena. Hangman and Ospreay did like 10 neck bumps each. The Styles clash on the outside of the ring, this crazy, kind of dangerous feeling spot. AEW, any pay-per-view is littered with these things. And so you have Mercedes in there, like the savant that she is. She don't need to break her opponent. She's just trying to win, man. And so she's navigating this division. And Toni does it as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what the clash of that thinking. But Mercedes is just trying to win. She gets Hayter, rolls her up, gets the 3 count, sprints out of the ring over to her trophy, crawls to the trophy. Everything that she does is just so calculated, on purpose. And the character work in match is incredible. The promo, not only on Wednesday Night Dynamite, the in-ring kind of interview promo, but the promo package for this was what I also felt like was the best one that AEW had done since she's been there. So I loved the match, highly rewatchable. It was hard hitting, and I thought a fun parallel was both Owen Hart matches were the baby, the baby face, the crowd favorite, trying to land a lights out lariat while the tactician athlete was trying to maneuver around that and counter around it. Mercedes got it done in the opener, and Ospreay couldn't get it done in the closer, and Hangman hit the buckshot lariat and won that match. So it was actually very similar styles in the bookend matches, and happy to say that Mercedes won. And I was very impressed with Hayter through this whole feud, and I really do hope Toni follows up and she has something meaningful. So great
Yeah,
match.
it was really excellent match. I can't say anything else about it. It was just a really good profession. It was a really great professional wrestling match with high stakes. Obviously, the winner gets an automatic shot at the title because they win the tournament and they get the pink belt, I guess it is, and they
Yep.
get the trophy. But Tony Storm is very famous for winning all of her matches with small packages. So I think Mercedes winning with roll-ups, it kind of also has that clash where
Yeah.
she can say to Tony, "Hey, I can beat you with the roll-up too. Like I don't need to just beat you with my statement maker or my money maker. I can beat you, with the small packages." And I think that that's also the story they're trying to tell. I think what I really appreciated about this match, and I think it's because it's on an AEW pay-per-view, is I didn't need the 47 spam finishers. Like the main event is going to be the match that is probably going to get a higher rating
Yeah.
because those type of matches are almost done to get ratings like that. Like because it's the 57 kickouts, it's the oh my god, he kicked out of 9. What's Osprey Blade? What is his finisher called? The Blade
Hidden
something?
Blade.
Hidden Blade. Oh, he kicked out of 12 buckshot lariats. Like that's going to get that
The
kind of a praise.
the elbow thing. Raj and I were texting last night, and Hangman had just dropped Osprey through the table on his neck, almost broke his spine, and then it was like this big old spot. Now we're taking the elbow pads off as if they hadn't already tried to maim each other. So there's a level of ridiculousness there. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
I
right.
mean, I understand that you're trying to win this tournament and you gotta like give it your all, but I do love when finishing moves were protected. It's why I through all of the booking, I appreciate WWE keeping the KOD strong because at some point a finishing move has to be the finish. I think one of the reasons that I've always given Brooklyn the credit as a wrestling match is because they went home at the perfect time. Like they did the reverse Rana. Bailey ties the headband tight. Ah,
Yeah.
Bailey to belly. 1, 2, 3, done. Game over. Sometimes I think that's why the Mania three-way worked so well. They ended it at the perfect time.
Oh yeah.
They ended it right because like I think about that match, right? And not to talk about that match here, but if Bianca kicks out of the moonsault, then where do you go from there? You just took the crowd on such a high, and now you have to bring them back up. I think this match was just a great professional wrestling match, and all the credit in the world to Mercedes and to Jamie because when you're wrestling 22, 24 minutes on an AEW show where one of the matches is going to be one of the craziest matches you'll ever see in your life with the Anarchy match because it's going to be everything in their mom used and thrown out and they're going to fight all over the place. And then, especially with the individuals in that match, and then you have, Okada's, and Mike Bailey, who, when Okada's motivated, he's as good as anybody there's ever been in the ring. And he was motivated last night. And that was a really
Yeah.
good match. And the main event was really good if you like that kind of thing. I personally, I would have loved the main event a lot more if they ended it sooner, but okay. I also think the one thing, the nitpick I have with AEW pay-per-views is they're too long. But my nitpick to you that I was going to bring up now, which I will, what if that match ended without Mercedes taking any kind of haterade, where she's going for it and that roll up was the end? Like she didn't do the mini haterade and get kicked out. How would the match? Because I would have loved if the match just ended like that, like suddenly. Because I kind of felt like watching it live. And, I texted. I was rushing home to get here, and I saw it the whole match live. I kind of knew when the ending was coming. Like they kind of telegraphed it to me a couple of different times, so I was like, okay, now I know the ending is coming. And I would have loved to have been surprised. Like, for example, the Athena match. And I think this match was better, by the way, but I was surprised at how she beat Athena like that. Like it took me by surprise. Like I was shocked by it. This I was not shocked by. I'm watching it. I'm like, oh. Mercedes is going to win the next time she goes for haterade. There's going to be some kind of roll up and she's going to win. And, I like to be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were surprised because, same thing with Athena. Mercedes hasn't hit the moneymaker on a top opponent in a minute. Um, maybe I was a little surprised because I had this thought in my mind how cool it would be to have her win with the sharpshooter. I thought would have been cool with the pass out we talked about, but uh, no, I see your point. I think the near fall did add to the match. The tombstone near fall was the one that I was like, holy crap! Only Mercedes bends her body backwards like that, where you're just like, how's she even going to kick out with her legs folded underneath her? But no, I'm between a 4.5 and a 4.75 on this one. And when I say a 4.75 or a 4.5, I mean on a real scale, where 5 is like the best you can do. Um, we've talked about this in the past. I give Brooklyn like a 5.5 for special circumstances, but really like a normal, like the Hazuki match is a 5, right? So um this was a great match. I will rewatch this match over and over again. So I'm somewhere between 4.5, 4.75.
Yeah, I think in the history of North American women's wrestling, if you're grading on a real scale, there's probably only two matches that are above a 5, right? I think Brooklyn would be the one, and then the Mania three-way would be the other. And then
Yeah,
anything else could be a 5, could be a 4.75. Hazuki, I still think the Mercedes Hazuki match for a one-on-one singles match is, in my opinion, her best wrestled match of her career. I don't
right.
think it has the pomp and circumstance of Brooklyn, and it'll never have the lasting impact on the industry that the Brooklyn match had. But as just a pure wrestled match, that's as good as you're ever going to see. The same way I think that, I had this discussion. So somebody who does listen to the podcast messaged me about, I had a tweet and I said that the Mania 32 three-way, it doesn't even look like the same sport compared to the 41 three-way. Like it looks like it's like one of the Mania 32 is beta VHS, and the Mania 41 match is 8K DVD, Dolby Atmos. And the person was like, well, wait a minute here. If it weren't for the Mania 32 match, we probably don't even get matches like Mania 41. And I said, yeah, I get the history part of it, but I'm sorry, like I was there in the crowd for 32, and that match just isn't, it's not, we're not even talking, it almost looks like different sports because, again, and I know you and I have gone back and forth on this, if you take the best version of Charlotte Flair as an athlete, who everybody would say is the best athlete. Now, Mercedes is very underrated as an athlete. She doesn't get enough credit for that because she's such a good wrestler. The three women in the Mania 41 match blow Charlotte out of the water athletically. So for me, that's where that match is. But back to this match. Here's my thing. Is Mercedes versus Toni now, can it in the ring deliver to the quality that Mercedes has been having with Chris, with Hazuki, with Momo, with um Hater? Because Toni Storm is a great professional wrestler. Like she has an end, she can go. She's a stardom champion.
Yeah,
She can wrestle. But this character of hers has allowed her to be more of a character than an in-ring kind of
yeah.
savant.
I was worried about it before, but I think this second run, Tony kind of recommitted to that the in ring should be good, and we know that when it wasn't good, it was because that's the way it was being booked, right? Um, in between when she left for a little bit after losing to Mariah, she had some matches in Japan. She had matches in Mexico. And um, I think her and Mercedes have 7 weeks now to figure out what that in ring looks like. Um, I imagine that their best match is a little bit of uh, a Japanese long form match with their high level mat wrestling mixed in. So I'm actually very interested to see what it looks like, and I think they can absolutely deliver. And I got a spicy take that goes with your WrestleMania 32 piece. I'm not going to argue with you because I think as a whole, women's wrestling has upgraded almost yearly since then. Becky Lynch moves a lot more athletically and better than she did in WrestleMania 32. She just does. She was a lot less athletic back then, we'll call it. Charlotte has the injury. Know that she was such a peak athlete. I don't know it'd be fair to say that she's more athletic even before the injury, right? Like Father Time is undefeated. Let's see how Bianca Belair and Io are moving when they're Charlotte's age, right? So I'm not downgrading Charlotte, but it's tough to keep up with how athletic she was if you watch the NXT matches and the 2016 version of her. Mercedes, I think, has uh, bulked up in a way that allows her to get more out of her body than she was able to do back then. But I'm gonna say here's the spicy take. Mercedes Moné is superior to Sasha Banks in the ring. She just is because this is
So
the best version of Mercedes Varnado as a wrestler, and we've got this resume now going all the way back to Japan, and it's lapping what she did as Sasha Banks. Now, some of that was she wasn't given an opportunity to do this on the main roster very often. Think about all the years that she didn't have pay-per-view matches, but at what point does the catalog be Brooklyn? Some really good stuff that she did with the blue hair and all that, but this woman we see now in the ring is she's going to deliver matches like this over and over and over again.
yeah, I don't think that's a spicy take at all, quite honestly. I think
Okay.
if people take the rose-colored glasses off of the WWE branding and they honestly review her catalog post WWE
Yep.
and WWE and they just watch it match for match, I don't think it's a spicy take at all. In fact, I think it's quite honestly more of an obvious take. Like I don't think there's anything controversial about that. Okay, yes, Brooklyn, fine. Okay, Brooklyn is number one.
Yep.
Okay, I could make the case then 2 to 7 could all be matches that happened after WWE.
Yeah.
I could make a
Absolutely.
case 2 to 7. I could say the two Chris matches. I could say the Willow match. I could say the Vakur 1 or 2. I could say Hater last night. I could say Momo. I could say
Definitely
Hazuki.
Hazuki. Yeah.
Hazuki, of course, the triple threat at Genesis. Like that's 8 matches I rattled off my brain right now. So maybe the other Hell in a Cell match with Bailey, the other Hell in a Cell with Becky, maybe Bianca. But here's not the spicy take. Not one of her matches with Charlotte Flair is currently in her top 12 matches of all time.
12 is generous, my friend. I think we're talking 15 or 20 at this point. And the Oscar matches are.
Well, I would take the Oscar matches over the Charlotte matches, except for the Falls Count Anywhere.
Yeah.
And I have probably on live TV seen what many say is the best wrestled Mercedes Charlotte match, which is LA main event.
I love that match.
That I was there, and then I probably seen one of their best house show matches in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they got 17 minutes and they completely tore the house down. And they both got standing ovations from the house show crowd on a Friday night. So here's the thing: Charlotte and Becky for WrestleMania 39 or WrestleMania 32, sorry, were 29 years old. Bianca and Io are older
Yep.
at Mania 41 than they were at 32. So, I mean, I don't know if people realize what kind of an athlete Io was in Japan and when she was doing Lucha Underground. So, again, back to Mercedes. I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think it's quite honestly an obvious take at this point. It's only going to get worse. Like, there's going to be a point where we're going to almost forget about Sasha Banks. We're not there yet because
If
nostalgia is a
if
drug.
right, if the greatest match ever wasn't a Sasha Banks match, yeah, you're to the point where it would just be like, oh, do you remember when she was Sasha Banks instead of like, you know what I mean?
And again, people who review this the way we do, but they don't factor in the lasting effect of a match and what it did for the industry and stuff. They just look at it as match, rating a match, rating a match, rating a match. Many of those pundits have said that Brooklyn has been far surpassed by her own other matches in the ring. So
Yeah.
even if you're going in that lens, I think she's just a better worker now. I think she's a more polished professional wrestler. Yes, a lot of this has context and nuance. Number one, in the prime of her athletic career, 2017 to 2019, she was basically on the shelf. She didn't get any real pay-per-view matches except for an elimination chamber match, um, an Alicia Fox pre-show match, a like she worked at the worst time to be a professional wrestler in WWE, where
Yep.
everything was a certain type of match. And the stuff she's doing now, I don't even think she would have been allowed to do half of it. She's not gonna. They don't. You can't do tombstones in WWE.
So
You can't do tombstones.
yeah, you're probably right that it's not a spicy take, but we have some listeners, I'm sure, and people on Twitter who are holding on to that Sasha Banks nostalgia, and I get it. We fell in love with her as Sasha Banks, but um, I'll tell you this right now: whether you agree with what I said or not, as easily as Raj just agreed, her mission statement was to make that so. Right? Her mission statement was when I go into the Hall of Fames of the world, and I'm not talking an official WWE Hall of Fame. I'm talking about the Mount. When people go, who's the women's wrestling Mount Rushmore? She wants them to say Mercedes Moné, not Sasha Banks. So
Yeah.
Toni and Mina, uh, to have the greatest match when the crowd absolutely knows who's winning. Mercedes has been in that boat a lot. You know, women in WWE are in that boat a lot when what was so great about the Jamie Mercedes match is you actually didn't know who was going to win. But the Toni Mina match, we both, everyone knew who was going to win that match. Kind of why I disagreed with them. If they really want to push Mina, I think it was too quick to put her in this match with such an obvious loss coming. But they got the crowd involved into it by the end of it. They got it going in the right direction. The finish came across well. They did the kiss, which only adds to the Toni character and Mina's character. Um, what were your thoughts?
Uh, before I give you my thoughts on that match, I just wanted to say this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a part of me that wants to see Mercedes Moné go back to WWE as Sasha Banks so I can get a proper EO match, another version of a Bianca match, another version, a Rhea match, a Stephanie Vaquer match, a Roxanne match, a finale with Bayley, maybe finally the Charlotte match, although, we'll get to that in a sec. Yes, but I'm totally content as a fan of hers if she never goes back. If this
Yep.
is what I'm going to get every single month, I don't care. That's just greed for the sake of being greedy. I enjoy what the women are doing in WWE. I enjoy what she and the other women are doing in AEW or New Japan or Stardom. So I'm totally content. In regards to Mina and Tony, I thought for what it was a good match. Like to your point, the winner was never in doubt.
Yeah.
It was just going to be how is she going to win, not if she's going to win. It had a spot that was very wonky with the crowd as well, because you know that you're in that 3 hour mark and the crowd's kind of getting tired. I think that both women are really good at the theater part of professional wrestling. So they're able to suck you in and make you care. But as just a wrestling match, I thought it was okay. Like, I'm not going to probably rewatch the thing 50 times, 100 times. Like, I'll probably maybe watch it once more just to see how, Tony moves and stuff. But to your point, yeah, I agree. Like, if you're really pushing Mina, then a loss like this, no, obviously it's to the champ. She can recover, but she already beat her, and that's the story. Well, she beat her once. She lost this one. I I thought it was a good match. It was good for what it needed to be. I think really now we get going with the timeless money main event angle. Like to me, this is an opportunity for all of us who care about women's wrestling, who are part of the crew, um, to really make our voices heard and say, look, Tony, not Tony Storm, but Tony Khan, you said last night at the media scrum you have one of two main event options. It's either Hangman Moxley or it's Mercedes and it's Tony. And I would give him some advice here. I've seen, I didn't even know this until you told me this, and I had to go look it up. You're like, well, we've seen Hangman versus
I looked it
Moxley.
up too. Go,
And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, really? We have. Okay. And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this has happened multiple times. It's not happened like once, it's happened
They've been in
multiple
the ring
times.
together. They've been in the ring together in 13 matches.
Yeah.
They've had 3 one-on-one matches. And I get it, guys. I get it that Hangman winning the title would be, but he's won it before, by the way, right? Their 3 one-on-one matches were on Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
Two of their 3 one-on-one Hangman versus Moxley on Dynamite. Okay. The other one was like a match at Revolution into 2023. So you went down the same road I did. This is not a protected matchup. And
No, not at all. I didn't know it was that not protected. I actually was more, oh wow, this is also another big deal. And then when you said it, I'm like, is he right? And then I looked at him like, oh, he is right. Like this match has happened before. To me, Mercedes Tony, they have not touched at all in AEW. Mercedes has been there a whole year. They have not touched. They have mentioned each other in promos, but they have not touched.
yep.
Again, I said this, I laid this out 2, 3 weeks ago. This is Hogan Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. And it needs to be for all the marbles. All in for all in all the belts. It should be the TBS champion versus the world heavyweight champion. The winner gets all of it. I do think then, I know people are going to hate this, Mercedes relinquishing the TBS title. I don't hate it because it allows a whole new group of women to get that belt, which has a pretty protected lineage. And then Mercedes now can focus on those rematches towards her first loss because she is gonna lose. And when she loses, she's gonna lose everything. She is going to crash. Rev Pro will be gone. She'll lose the world title. She won't have the TBS belt. She won't have New Japan. She won't have anything. She'll lose everything. Because look, the best story is the CEO goes bankrupt and
Yep.
then the resurrection of her happens. So I think this is a no-brainer. I don't know why Tony Khan shouldn't just announce it Wednesday here. Hey, by the way, Wednesday, AEW Dynamite will be here in El Paso. My friend here, Billy, will be joining me. We will be at the
Yep. We
show,
will be at the show.
ringside. I would like to see Tony come out and just say it right now. No mystery, none of this hashtag stuff. Just come out and say, look, this is my main event. Period. End of story. And that's the only thing I ever gave Vince credit for, where he said Rousey, Becky, Charlotte will main event. He gave you notice. He told you that was it. And you kind of dealt with it. Because what? Are people not going to show up? They already bought their tickets. Are they not going to be at the show? Of course they are. And
I
I
would
think
I would argue everyone who's already bought are the people who are coming regardless. More and that those are the Hangman Moxley fans, right? Like if you're more likely to get people go, oh shit, I'm gonna make a trip to Dallas because this important, special, never before seen thing is happening.
the reason Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair was the rightful main event of WrestleMania 37 is it never happened before. It was a legitimate dream match. It was a
Yep.
match that we discussed. Like I said, not going to say the name, but I was watching the Mae Young tournament, and Bianca Belair's the first ever match I ever saw of Bianca Belair was her against Kairi Sane, and I was watching it with my ex-wife. And she looked at me. She said, "I want to see her fight Sasha Banks," and that was 2017, right? So 4 years later, they actually main event WrestleMania. Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné is the only women's match in AEW to me that feels special. Every other combination of matches has either happened or it doesn't feel special. Like somebody's like everybody thought Mercedes Britt Baker would be the first match to main event AEW pay-per-view. We're all thankful it didn't
Right.
because they might never have gotten another chance. But to my point is, as big a star as Britt Baker was, remember, Britt Baker was the big fish in a very small women's pond in AEW. A timeless Toni Storm has far surpassed anything Britt Baker's ever done. And Mercedes is, Mercedes. This has to be the main event. Tony, don't screw this up. And when we see you Wednesday here in El Paso, we are going to tell you, don't screw it up because this is your chance to take some shine away from your competitors who are counter programming against you. And let's just cut right to it before we cover NXT Battleground. Evolution, WWE, July 13th, Sunday, Atlanta, Georgia. I think it's called the Phillips Arena. The same night and same time in the same city as a Beyonce concert. That takes real guts on WWE's part to do this. But Atlanta is a very big city, and there's a lot of money in Atlanta, and I'm sure Evolution will sell out as well. What are your thoughts about the Evolution Part 2 coming the next day after potentially Mercedes and Toni Storm main eventing?
Yeah, the whole thing is actually really interesting to me. So Evolution 2, it's long overdue. And do you know when the first time that Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné, then Sasha Banks, appeared on camera in any sense or form together was? It was on the press tour 3 days before Evolution 1. They were in a,
Or Stratus.
then now forever type interview with Kathy Kelly, and Tony was the future, was the now, and Trish was the forever.
I remember
And
that, Beth.
they interviewed together for Evolution specifically, crazy. And there's an interview going around now where someone asked Mercedes a couple days later, who's your dream match? And she says, oh, Toni Storm. I just met her for the Evolution press tour. God, she's a lot like me. She loves wrestling just like I do. She came up loving wrestling like me, and I'd really love to get in the ring with her. And it never happened. It probably should have happened. It never happened. It didn't happen in WWE. It hasn't happened in AEW yet. And now they will fight for the first time the same weekend as we get this long overdue Evolution 2. The world is funny in some ways, but it also happens that way when people are playing with money at the top on purpose, right? Counter programming, as you said. So I'm excited the women are getting Evolution 2. I think they're going to stack the hell out of the card. WWE also countered All In with a Saturday night main event, I think they are going to stack that card with men's matches. And I think that Toni needs to put Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné in the main event. Hashtag Timeless Moné main event. Hashtag Timeless Moné main event. What's the little thing that goes over the E on the Moné?
The accent. What is
The
it? It's
accent.
called. So
There's like a
there's. Is it aigu? I should know this. I studied French. There's the triangle accent, which we used to call it. How I would remember it is it's called the circumflex, but I used to call it Sir Cornflakes. That's how I remembered it. Um, accent aigu. It'll come to me. But yeah, go ahead.
up. It's the to the right is the higher side. Okay, to the right. So if you put that on there, some people are going to forget to put it. I think we can trend both without it, but anything up and to the left is probably not going to trend. So up to the right is the way she spells it, the correct way. So Timeless Money main event, hashtag it. All that being said, I don't think we need the hashtag as much this time, and I'll tell you why. I really believe Toni and Mercedes are going to tear the house down, building this feud the next 7 weeks. And all I ask is that Tony Khan gives them the time to outshine everything else on that show. And if they get the chance to do that, they will. And it will feel like the main event without the hashtag.
So AI tells me
Yeah.
Monet with the accent above the E to the right can refer to multiple individuals or a product. One popular interpretation is Mercedes Monet, a professional wrestler and
Because Google.
actress who previously worked for WWE as Sasha Banks. She is currently with All Elite Wrestling, AEW. Another known individual is Monet, an American recording artist and songwriter who achieved success with hits like We Can Make It. Additionally, Monet can refer to La Monet, a Meyer lemon. It's called an aperitif. That's what it's called. Okay. So I have a couple of different thoughts about evolution.
Yeah.
You thought you had a spicy take.
Oh, let's go.
This isn't, that your take is like eating plain wings compared to my spicy take. I think that it's more of a reflection of how poor WWE is booking women on these PLEs to even need to have evolution. And here's where I'm going with this. Do I want evolution? Yes, because there are so many talented women in that company that I want to see in spotlighted type of matches. So, yes, I'm all for evolution. I don't want anybody to take this as, oh, he's against it. No. Where I'm going with this is we had Saturday night's main event. We had 2 hours with 1 hour, it felt like, of commercials, and we didn't get a good match on that whole show. Like, other than Bronson Reed returning and Cody Rhodes returning, the show was a nothing burger. You had a women's match.
I've been to better house shows.
I've been to much better house shows. You had a women's match thrown together the night before, and they got 5 minutes. My point here is, yes, evolution is great. I'm happy for it. There are dream match scenarios. It'll be a stacked card. But when some of the most popular competitors on your program, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Stephanie Vaquer, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Tiffany Stratton, if they just got the time that they should get on PLEs, I wouldn't feel like an evolution thing is needed.
Right.
I wouldn't feel like it. Like, to me, this is why Mercedes, going back to her, went to AEW, in my opinion. She's getting 20 to 25 minutes on every pay-per-view. Why is Io Sky not getting 20 to 25 minutes on every pay-per-view? Why is Rhea Ripley not? Why is Tiffany Stratton not? Like, that's my point, which is, I know they're holding back on women's matches purposely for evolution. I get it. It's like, we're not going to give you any of it, and then we're going to give you all of it so you show up and pay exorbitant ticket
Well,
prices
it's like
and
here,
spot.
damn. It's like shut up. Here's your card.
But to me, that's like NXT, which in the ratings, and I don't really care about the ratings, because I really think AEW is going in the right direction. I think the house show attendance, I mean, not the house show attendance, but the pay-per-view attendance is improving. I think the pay-per-view buys are steady. I think the product is getting hot. But NXT is routinely beating AEW in the ratings, and it's centered around one woman. I used to always say it's Stephanie and Julia. I'm going to take Julia out of it. It's Stephanie Vaquer's show,
Yeah,
and it is purposely centered around her. Let's fast forward before we get to the match at Battleground. This Tuesday, it's already been announced that she's main eventing against JC Jane. So they're already telling you she's our person, because a North American title match is opening the show, the men, and the women are closing. Stephanie Vaquer is, as Shawn Michaels, who runs NXT, said, Miss NXT. She is the brand. I don't. Why can't what they did on Battleground last night they do on regular main roster WWE pay-per-views? I don't get
I,
it. We got two women's matches. They were both fantastic. They both got time. The crowd was hot for both of them. Honestly, the crowd was hotter for both of those matches than the rest of the matches on the card. So I just don't
absolutely.
understand. I don't get
There,
it.
there, there was a level of equality that you feel in that pay per view. And I actually think AEW is making, some good progress. We had 4 matches last night that involve women, 3 strictly women's matches, one on the pre-show that looks like, hey, both teams had matching gear, guys. For our fans that are, the gear is important, and I know that that's a big thing in women's wrestling. Matching gear feels like a tag team um, division is being built, so that's exciting. And then you had Willow winning in the arena, obviously being her and Marina Shafir being the first women involved in that match. So you had 4 matches with women, 3 strictly women's matches. Mercedes got 20 plus minutes. I think Mina and Tony was what, like 13, 14, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, the right amount of time when you know who's winning. So I love evolution that we're getting it, but it shouldn't be instead of real equal booking and time on the main show. And you know what? This might piss a couple people off, but if you're going to have John Cena and R-Truth in a 5-minute match, you could reverse the old days and have that, on the Evolution card as the 5-minute match like they used to do to the women on the pay-per-view. Is that going too far? And if that pisses off any fans, I'm just saying, don't have R-Truth and Cena and make it a 5-minute match too. Like the whole Saturday night main event card was, I was not the biggest John Cena fan ever, but I was excited to watch his last year, and it's being booked terribly. That's a whole other episode
Well,
that we're not
yeah.
going to cover. It's not our forte, but it's been disappointing. The Zelina Chelsea match, 5 minutes, was disappointing as hell. Um, it's not equal booking. It's, oh, we're going to get hashtags if we don't put a women's match on this.
Look, they gave Charlotte and Tiffany a lot of time at Mania, and it didn't deliver. It just didn't.
Yeah.
They also gave Io, Bianca, and Rhea the kind of opening spotlight match, and they tore the roof off Vegas. And they did what Reigns, Rollins, and Punk couldn't do with half the time, right? Like
Yeah.
they had, to me, and I don't think this one's even close, WWE match of the year easily. And they did it in 15 minutes. So if I get an Io Sky match on every pay-per-view, or a Rhea Ripley match, or a Bianca match, or a Tiffany match, or a Liv match, then Evolution is just a nice cherry on the sundae.
Yeah.
But I feel like WWE has starved us on purpose, the main roster, not NXT. So now we're going to be overfilled with Evolution. Now let's talk about Battleground. So they had 2 matches, both for the women's titles. When the opening match, similar to what we saw on AEW Double or Nothing for the North American Women's Championship, you had Sol Roca in her first title defense against Kalani Jordan. 1 year ago today, Kalani Jordan's first title defense was against Sol Roca.
Yep.
So it's the story in reverse. Now, last year, that match was very controversial because everybody thought it was just two gymnasts doing flips back and forth. Both have come a long way as in ring wrestlers. And I thought last night's match was excellent. I thought it started off the show hot. I thought they did some really cool stuff that I don't know how many other women can do. I don't know how many
Yep.
men can do, quite honestly. Because Sol Roca, she does some stuff I've never seen before. And I've watched a lot of wrestling. But for her to land on her feet, on in Vans, no less, from the Poison Rana, where she just landed on her feet and didn't even flinch, I was like, wow. And how she and what is her finisher called?
Soul Snatcher.
That was the best soul snatcher I've ever seen. That was unbelievable. That match was great. I loved it. I thought they used their athletic ability to tell a story. It felt like a wrestling match. It felt like a little bit of a fight. Obviously, there's a lot of theater and choreograph to it, but I enjoyed the match. I thought it was really good. What did you think?
Yeah, it was certainly I didn't hate the match last year. I just thought it was two women who are incredibly athletic that are a little bit green on the storytelling, and it's nothing to get mad on the internet about, to be honest. Um People were like, "Oh, they're trying to copy Ricochet and Osprey, but it's not as good." And it's like, you know what? They both just started wrestling a couple years ago. How about let's celebrate the fact that they could even try to replicate some of the stuff that those two dudes do. This match was better. The seasoning is starting to set in on both of them. They're starting to slow down on the in between moments a little bit. Still a lot of choreography and some stuff that can get ironed out, but they're still both very new at this. Here's how the match lands for me. I wouldn't argue with you if you told me that in 5 years, these two women are two of the 5 or 10 best wrestlers in the world on the women's side. Um, there's an incredible amount of athletic talent. Uh, there's an incredible amount of charisma. There's a body dexterity. So you said that WrestleMania 41 was this evolution version of 32, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
faster, stronger, more athletic. I Bianca is one of the most incredible athletes I've ever seen. Kalani and Soul have a body dexterity that I don't think even incredible athletes like Bianca or Rhea necessarily have, and that's this ability to control themselves midair that I you know, Osprey-ish, Ricochet-ish, where there's just some.
Io Sky ish.
I left Io
Yeah.
out on purpose because Io's there, but Io's smaller than both of those women, so it's a little bit striking how well built they are. Io is absolutely there, so that's what I was getting at. Um, Against each other, it's not my favorite type of match because they're both. I don't watch Ricochet Osprey over and over and over again for that reason. I love Ricochet, actually. I love him against a regular wrestler. I enjoyed Osprey last night more than usual because Hangman Page is a regular wrestler who's doing wrestler stuff. So I think Kalani versus a regular wrestler and Soul versus, God, if you put Soul in there versus like an Asuka or even a Natty Neihart, what either one of them would do, they would be the standout to the base. I think there's going to be some really cool matches that come from both of these women. Um, Sky's the limit for both of them. I didn't love the finish like you did. I like the original Soul Snatcher better because it doesn't require as much compliance from the other wrestler. Kalani had to kind of dive into it, and it looked really cool, but That's my nitpick. I didn't love the finish. I love the finish on, like, I would high five Sol Ruca and be like, I can't believe you can physically do that. It's stupid that that's possible for you to do. But for like a fight, I like the other one better because it's a little bit more RKO and she can hit it believably where the other person doesn't see it coming.
Yeah,
Last note I'll say on it, Kalani blocked the original like 3 or 4 times, which I
yeah.
thought was great storytelling that both women are learning to kind of do.
So what you didn't like about it was the ending was a little too choreographed. Like it was kind of
Cor-
obvious.
Correct. Kalani got up and she had to jump into it.
Okay.
I don't like it. My favorite RKOs are not the ones where someone had to like do something to be in position. So I think the best one ever is the one he hit on Seth because it was natural to the motion. He popped up in the air, and he was coming down anyway.
So you don't like the other all-time RKO is obviously um the one to Matt to Evan Bourne.
Correct. That one's a little bit. I don't like that one as much because it
The
was.
reason so
Yeah.
I agree with you, but the reason I liked it at the time is I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Because nobody did that to the airborne move. It's like it came out of nowhere. I loved the RKO to Seth. That one was one of the coolest finishes of all time.
It was.
Obviously, the one to JD McDonough was so telegraphed, like they almost threw him into it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you on the standpoint of it's like watching Osprey Ricochet wrestle over and over again. And it's like the more you watch a match like that, the more you can nitpick at it because you see how obvious things are. Like there is no disbelief. At that point, it's almost like, okay, it's your turn to flip. It's my turn to flip. It's your turn to do this. And that's why the original Osprey Ricochet match, which I'll never forget, the match was trending. And I'm like, what is this? Wrestling? I've never heard of these guys. And I'll never forget, I watched it on YouTube. Somebody sent me the YouTube link. And at the time, I thought, oh, this is different. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. And yes, it was the precursor to what became a lot of professional wrestling. But this is also why I think somebody like yourself prefers a Mercedes Monet because it's more of a throwback. I don't think Randy Savage would be doing these gymnastics moves, and neither would Bret Hart, and neither would. And there's a part of it where you still want that kind of fight feel, not choreographed feel. Like I think the Mania 41 Triple Threat was the best of both worlds. It's like
It
it
was.
felt like a wrestling match, and you got this.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Real quick, I'm not. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking. I think it was a very good match. I'd probably put it at like a 4. And all I'm saying is for my wrestling tastes, I would love to see Kalani versus a bunch of people and Soul versus a bunch of people. And I get that there's a style of wrestling where people think that they're like wrestling soulmates, but I like contrasting styles more than I like similar styles, right? I like the almost like the original UFC, right? The idea was wrestlers will fight taekwondo, will fight, karate, will fight jujitsu, and I I think Kalani and Soul will have better matches separately when they are the high flyer and someone else is a different style. Um, I would buy incredible amounts of stock in both women. I think they're awesome.
yeah. So I like the match for what it was. I think both women have greatly improved in a year. They're both superstars of the future. They check every box. I was late to the party on Sol Roca. But I
Yeah.
see female Jeff Hardy now. That's what I see. I see the
I
female Jeff Hardy.
She's absolutely someone that I could see hit the main roster, and the back office, as they say, is going to have to be like, shh, what are we going to do? We have to change
Oh,
this plan we had because she's so over that we have to do something with her we didn't plan on doing so quickly.
I would agree with you normally. However, they don't have to worry about that because they have who is soon to be the biggest women's wrestling star in the world, in Stephanie Vaquer, who had the match after. Who, okay, so let me set the stage. Stephanie is defending her NXT Women's Championship against Jordana Grace. And this match was very good.
Mhm.
This match was, you could, if you want to say great, I'm okay with that too. I loved this match. I thought it was so physical. They were really beating the crap out of each other. And I think Grace has had three really good matches on NXT TV: Roxanne, Julia, and now Stephanie. So, um, this match was supposed to be two baby faces fighting. It did not feel that way because the crowd was 100% behind Stephanie Vaquer. So I think some booking advice for Shawn Michaels is I don't think you can put other baby faces in the ring with Stephanie Vaquer. I think she's just going to get cheered. So I think
Yeah.
you need the JC Jane, I'll get their names, who she's going to fight in the triple threat at Worlds Collide. By the way, Worlds Collide, for all of you who's so afraid of Alberto Del Rio, he's not on the poster for Worlds Collide. I just want to point that out. Okay. Um, I loved this match. I actually watched this match twice, and I watched Mercedes and Jamie twice. And if you were to tell me that you liked Stephanie Grace more than Mercedes Hayter, I'm not going to get mad at you. I personally wouldn't agree, but I'm not going to get mad at you. I think Stephanie Vaquer is just a supernova. She is going to reach she's going to reach heights as a professional wrestling a woman's professional wrestler that very few have ever hit when she gets onto the main roster,
Yeah.
because I don't know how many other women, other other than Io's this, what other women's move right now or motion gets the whole crowd going crazy in all of women's wrestling? Can you think of any? Because like people aren't like, oh my god, here comes the
I mean,
moneymaker. Like nobody's doing that, or nobody's doing here comes
well,
the
she's
Becky
a heel, but
manhandle.
there's the CEO dance, which was a thing for a minute when she was playing tweener. But as a heel, it shouldn't. You you don't want the crowd dancing with you when you're a
That's true.
heel.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want the crowd, but
Um, but she had people in Japan doing that when she first brought it out. But no, WWE's done a great job with the EO thing and the 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 Booker T thing with Stephanie. Like, uh, I've got two thoughts converging at once, right? So I agree with your Stephanie take. Um, I think she's going to get to the main roster and it's going to be curtains. Um, just based on the reaction she's going to get and the way she's going to draw if they keep her booked like this. Um, I think we save it for next week, but for we've got a lot of fans on this show, and you're the card carrying EO Sky,
Mhm.
fan. Not that I'm not a fan. I love EO, but she's one of your favorites of all time. I want to commit to next week. We're going to talk about not only we're going to AEW. We'll have a lot to talk about next week, but on the WWE side, the EO thing, I love the way they're taking advantage of it on social media. I think it's incredible how over it is and how over she is. It's not okay for her not to be on the main shows. It's not okay for her not to be wrestling Saturday night main events and backlashes and maybe not even a Money in the Bank. That's not okay. I think we have to cover that.
Or Tiffany.
Or Tiffany, but that's a story for next week. But we promise there's some criticism to line up there for sure because like you said the EO thing, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but like, why isn't she wrestling? And that's where I had the convergence of thoughts. But back to Stephanie and Jordan, um, they have work to do. Create a heel worthy of. I would love for Stephanie to have a her classic before she leaves NXT. And Jordan and her put on a damn good match last night. And the only thing that probably held it back was we often say alignment can mess up a match. And I don't think it messed anything up, but it didn't get to the height because of alignment, right? If you had the heel and she was working some underhanded way with how physical it was, it could have even taken it to greater heights. So they need to figure out a way to, build up someone. Maybe Lola Vice loses her mind and starts being real underhanded with her, but I would like to see her in there versus a heel that the crowd hates.
I have an
But
idea. I have an
okay,
idea for you. You want to hear it?
yeah,
Bring Nia Jax to NXT.
that's actually a really good idea.
I mean, if you're gonna do it that way, which I agree with, Stephanie is getting to the point now where she's way too popular to put in there with baby faces. Like I said, Jordan is a baby face. She works a baby face style, and you're right. The alignment was off because it's like, well, nobody's cheering for her, but she's not doing anything underhanded to earn getting no cheers. But it's just the other person is so damn popular. And I understand what they did with JC Jane, but nobody believes JC Jane's going to beat Stephanie Vaquer. Like nobody believes she has a chance.
Right.
There's two people, right? Nia Jax is the easy one, but then let's play this thing out. Mariah May, that's the one. If they have really signed Mariah May or they know they're going to sign her, she should be the first person to beat Stephanie Vaquer because
Yeah, but I don't think her contract's up till the fall, right? Do you keep Stephanie down there that long?
I don't know what to do with Stephanie right now because, like, you can keep her in NXT and she's always going to draw. And look, if Mariah May is the plan, let's just play this out. So Mariah May comes to WWE, beats Stephanie. Stephanie wins the Royal Rumble, goes on and fights one of the champs at Mania. Because I do think now we can all, as wrestling fans, realize that the four horsewomen thing in WWE is over. Like, they're not going to be in prominent high end title matches at WrestleMania. Like, I think we can safely say that now because Charlotte lost to Tiffany. So this whole, oh well, we can get her versus, nobody wants to see her. I don't want to see her versus Bianca anymore. It's not a big dream match for me. I think Bianca Rhea has to be one of the two women's matches at Mania, the main matches. They should be other matches. And I think the other match should be Stephanie versus Io. To me, those would be, if I were booking WWE, I would book that. And then everybody's going, what about Tiffany? Well, you know what? Tiffany had her moment, like she got it. She not only got her debut, she beat Charlotte. I think it's okay for Tiffany to have a different match at Mania, like maybe her versus Alexa. I don't know, but my point is those should be the two women's matches. Now, again with Stephanie, the way the crowd is into her move, it's phenomenal because when she does it and she doesn't get to do it, like the way Jordan rolled out of the ring and spiked her into the announce desk and then
Yeah,
looked at Booker T, that was the most heel thing she did the whole night. That was
right,
the heel thing, but she didn't play off of it. Like I would have loved Jordan Grace to turn heel in the match, still
right.
lose, but turn heel. So what did you think of the match though? Like, did you think, like I said earlier, a lot of people were arguing about which of the two women's matches were the better match last night. I personally thought it was Mercedes Hayter, and I'm comfortable with that. Did you think Stephanie Jordan was on that level?
No, I didn't. I probably had it 4.25, 4.5. So I probably have Mercedes Jamie like a quarter of a point to half a point better. If you want to be, you know, the highest spread on it I see is I give Jamie Mercedes 4.75 and I give Stephanie Jordan 4.25. I don't ever throw out a score without telling you kind of the things I would have wanted to see. One, I think Jamie Mercedes was better because I didn't know who was going to win.
Yes. Well,
Uh,
hold on. A lot of people thought Stephanie was losing last night. I know you
Do they
weren't.
watch the show?
I know you weren't on your
Show?
timeline because I remember I messaged you. I said, "Hey, this match was great," and you're like, "I don't see anybody talking about it." And then I said, "No, here's a person. Here's why people thought she was going to lose." And it's not for any reason that you and I would discuss. You know what it was? Well, she has to go to the main roster. She's too big for NXT.
They have
That's
nowhere.
the that's the only reason.
There's nowhere to put her in the main roster right now that doesn't disrupt other people who are very well high paid. And I don't think they're giving up the NXT rating until they have a plan behind it. You pull her up to the main roster now. How many NXT loses a couple 100,000 viewers a week?
I think NXT goes from close to 7 to 6. I do. I think she's
Yeah,
worth
and well, and then
all. Yeah.
internationally,
Oh
the
yeah. That
point.
that would be a disaster.
So no, I knew she wasn't losing. In fact, here's what I will say. Stephanie is such a big star now, and I think she will be so protected that the match she loses, we will see coming from 100,000 miles away, like this one. Like,
Yeah.
like
Right, man.
if it's done right, go into the match going, oh man, Stephanie's losing and going up to the main roster. I hope they put on an epic banger.
He,
Obvious finishes are not. Champion is obviously going to retain. That's not quite as fun. When a great championship reign has been built and the obvious right next winner is coming, is very, very fun. Hell in a Cell 2020 Bailey Sasha Banks. You might as well have retired Sasha Banks wasn't winning that match. You know what I'm saying? Like you might as well have said, "You're done here. Leave the territory." Like
do you know how many Bailey fans blocked me during that buildup? Because I said if Bailey wins, it's a disaster. And their whole thing was Bailey wins and then loses to Sasha at Mania. And I'm like, if you beat her in a Hell in a Cell match, it's over. That's the finale, right? Like,
blouses, yeah,
it's over.
yeah. No, so we see Stephanie's the person who conquers Stephanie. We will see it coming from a mile away because they will have to put in work. There
Yeah.
is nobody currently signed to WWE worthy of taking that title off of her. Julia was probably the right answer, and they punted on that and put her on the main roster, which means someone backstage said, "We keeping Stephanie in NXT," and it was months at minimum. And so then someone else backstage said, "Well, then we need to bring Julia to main roster, or else we're wasting her."
I think that they have a bigger problem with Stephanie than they realize. And what I mean by that is you can make the case, well, she should turn heel. She'll still get more cheers than everybody else. There's no
No,
point.
yeah,
It's so you have created a mega star, which is tremendous. But if you create like this is why, and I know as we come to an end here, I want to cover the money in the bank stuff. The reason 2015, I will make the argument with anybody more than the current Mercedes Monet, more than EO, more than Minami Toyota in the 90s. I think the 2015 February winning the title to August 2015 losing the title, Sasha Banks, is the perfect heel champion character ever. Ever.
yep,
That is the perfect. That is how you take a 7 month reign and you make multiple stars. You cement Charlotte, you make Becky. The other star she made that she doesn't get credit for in that reign is Alexa Bliss, which Alexa Bliss has also said, like, hey, I was getting booed in Columbus until I beat her by countout. And then people are like, oh, okay, Alexa Bliss is something. So, you have Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Bailey all got made in that run by one person. If heel Stephanie Vaquer is talented enough to do it, yes, they don't have anybody on the other side of the ledger who can be propped up. Stephanie is too
right.
big a star now. So, oh, go ahead.
So I was only thinking who's the heel that beats her. the answer, if you're okay with Stephanie going tweener or heel, so
Yeah, okay. That works.
run the division when Stephanie leaves.
That's
Absolutely.
fine. That's fine. That one works. I am okay with that one. And again, are you running the risk of people? Well, I this is just my opinion. I think Stephanie Vaquer is they have built her up so well and they have made her this superhero type of person that whether she's a heel, a face, or a tweener, she's going to get cheered no matter what. So
Right.
you have to then figure out who's the person who can withstand that the most. And probably Sol Roca is the person because she has such a flashy move set that it will protect her. Like that's the thing with like you even started to notice it with the Roxanne. Like Roxanne was a big star in NXT, and when they fought Stephanie, she didn't feel like the big star anymore. Like she kind of felt like, okay, hey, it's Stephanie. But hey, can we talk about Money in the Bank before
Yeah,
we?
just one
Okay,
last thing on Stephanie. Everyone here knows I'm a mark for Mercedes, is what people would say. And I think she's got, aura, the most star power, all that. Um, I think Mercedes in her first match with Stephanie was obviously the bigger star. We were just meeting Stephanie. And I think the way the aura or whatever you want to call it upgraded in the year after that, whatever Stephanie did and worked on, by that second match with Mercedes, she was absolutely on the same level as Mercedes from a drawing you in standpoint, which I don't say lightly that anyone could match Mercedes shine. And um, it's a big, big shine down in NXT because she has the star power to hold a 70,000 person stadium hostage during Mania where they're going to be focused on her. So, yeah, my last thought on it is she wasn't losing. They have a lot of work to do for someone to be ready to beat her because she's a megawatt star.
yeah,
Money,
it's funny. I know you say this, but I'm telling you, I was on my TL last night, and so many people had Jordan winning that match. Like so, and I mean, these are Stephanie fans, and they were like, "Oh yeah, she's gonna lose and go to the main roster. She's gonna lose, and go to the main roster." Now they don't know the business side of it, but then when she won, then you know what the comment became? I don't know who's gonna beat her now because
yeah,
they believed that Jordan Grace was this new hot TNA signing, TNA women's champion. We're bringing her in. She's gonna do it. And I, to your point, when I saw the match, I was just like, yeah, Jordan's gonna lose because
Jordan absolutely could have been the one to beat her, but not on May 25th, 2025. If they would have held that match till August, I would have said Jordan's beating her. But there's nowhere to slot her on the main roster right now that makes sense without taking time away from someone who they're committed to giving time to, right? And I'm not, and Stephanie will take someone's time at some point, but right now they have enough things going. She doesn't fit anywhere, and the Julia call up made it proof positive
yeah.
that Stephanie's going to be in NXT a
I,
while.
I'm starting to think that the reason they did Stephanie Io on Raw was because they were testing the waters to see if that match could be Mania.
Yeah,
I because that's the only person who Stephanie Vaquer has been in the ring with in WWE that the other person didn't feel like a subpar star is Io. Nobody else. Like, think about all of Stephanie's matches in WWE. Other than Io Sky, who else has felt like the equal star to her? They got Dueling Chance. They got Let's Go Io, La
right.
Primera. This is like the crowd was invested in both women. Every other woman who's fought Stephanie has been tsunamied by her. She's just too big. So, look, if you were to tell me that, hey, 2 years from today, the main event of WrestleMania 43, night one, will be Stephanie Vaquer versus Rhea Ripley, I will believe you. In fact, I would almost bet that that will be a WrestleMania main event. I think that's going to happen. I don't
I
see
do
how
too.
it can't. I just don't see how you can have these two women and it isn't like this dream scenario. Because, I mean, say what you will about Rhea Ripley, she's a big star and she's going to be a big star, and that's not going away anytime soon. So I know we're coming to the end here, and I know you have some real strong thoughts. Okay, so Money in the Bank, we got three qualifiers this week. No,
Yep.
two. Was it two or three?
Alexa was last week.
So far in the match, we have Alexa Bliss,
Yep.
we have Roxanne, who
Yep.
beat Becky, and who's the other person she beat?
Natty.
Natty. And then we have Julia, who won. So we have Roxanne, Julia, Alexa. Is that it?
I feel like there's a fourth person in there already.
I think there is. Oh, Rhea. How did we forget Rhea Ripley? Okay, so Rhea won against who did Rhea beat?
Oh, she beat Kyrie and Zoe. Prayers out to Zoe.
Zoe, yes, Zoe, get well.
Get well
Okay,
soon. That's a tough injury. Yeah, that sucks. But yeah,
so
Rio won and pinned Kyrie.
so Rhea, Julia, Roxanne, and Alexa. Well, you got the
Yeah,
star power in this match
for
for
sure.
sure. Okay, so let's talk SmackDown because I know you are a very big fan of what is happening with Charlotte and Alexa.
Yeah, I waiting for layers for Charlotte for a long time. I want to like Charlotte, and it's like it's funny is like most people who have such deep-seated crew ties like I do, um, the last person that they want to get over as a baby face in their own mind is Charlotte Flair. But I actually look at it a different way now. I think Mercedes being outside of WWE helps me look at it different. I actually think that Charlotte has been a little bit of a victim of her own booking. Um, and she probably started per her book in 2016. She was absolutely asking to be booked a certain way, but I don't think that she wanted 14 title reigns with a lot of short ones and flip flopping belts and all that stuff. I don't think that's the way she envisioned it. And then when she's out of the title picture, she's in the tag title. It's just they've kept her stories very thin for a long time. And this Alexa, Charlotte, old guard thing is absolutely working for me. I think it humanizes Charlotte in a way her injury should have, but they blew that with those terrible vignettes. Um, Terrible vignettes, awful. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it humanizes her in a way that at this stage in her career, she to your point, you know, she's like John Cena now, man. Like John Cena since 2015, 16, how many times has he held the belt? He fought for it against Reigns a couple times, but he hasn't really held the belt. When she has a title match now where she has a real chance to win, it's actually going to be few and far between. So the character needs more. And I think that they're finally doing a good job with that. And I actually think Alexa's been super, super compelling. The last couple weeks, I need them to drop the spooky. I think we need less spooky and more biting comebacks like she had against Tiffany. And I thought Tiffany was actually really Alexa adds to the show because that was the first Charlotte Tiffany segment with mics involved that wasn't a train wreck. So props
Yeah.
to Alexa for
Well,
that.
and I also think Alexa is somebody who the crowd is equally as invested in as Tiffany, right? Like
Yeah,
Tiffany gets a monster pop, Alexa got a monster pop, and Charlotte got kind of go away heat. And
go away. Yeah,
right, and the thing about it is she made the comment, which I think is, people are like, oh, she called her vintage. She said, you're the standard, I'm the upgrade. And again, I said this on Twitter. Shout out to Chen. I don't know if Tiffany wants a mic exchange with Alexa Bliss. Like, I think that's something Tiffany should be careful for because Alexa does have carte blanche. She will say what comes to her mind. And Alexa can cut. She's a really good promo. She knows how to cut. Like she is basically the blueprint for the Tiffany character, right? Like Tiffany's character has a little bit of Alexa Bliss, a little bit of Trish Stratus, a little bit of Charlotte Flair, and that's kind of she's kind of the mix up
Yeah,
of all of them.
if Tiffany thinks Charlotte went off script to win a promo battle, wait till Alexa. I still remember poor Bailey, um, who probably at that point in her career was like trying to memorize the script. They handed her a sheet and she was like, if I miss a word here, I won't be on TV. So she's out there reading these lines, and Alexa's just flaying her, and she's just a deer in headlights. Like, well, my next line is this terrible line, and then Alexa cuts her again. She's like, well, my next line is this terrible line, and uh,
Alexa,
Alexa was destroying people back in 2017. Whew.
somebody asked me who the best women, like somebody said we should do a topic on who's the best women's promo of all time. Who's the best talker in the history of women's wrestling on the mic?
Yeah,
And honestly, my answer is going to surprise people. I'm not going to tell you. Well, I'll tell you who it is. I think it's Stephanie McMahon, actually.
yeah,
But
for sure she is.
but if you take away you active wrestlers, Alexa Bliss is one of the few people who has shut down a what chant. They were whatting her, and she goes, "If you're in the crowd and you're stupid, say what? What?" And they didn't say anything after. They're like, "Oh, wait a minute here, we got caught." She's very quick-witted. She's very good on the microphone. That's her gift. And honestly, I loved the backstage segment. I thought that was A+ work. She's talking to the doll. Charlotte thinks she's talking about her, but maybe she is talking about her. You just don't know. And she says,
Yeah,
"Oh, see you at Money in the oh," because Charlotte's on a losing streak here, and I
yeah.
think this is perfect for her, and it's perfect for them to win the tag belts. And I do think that at Evolution, they're going to win the tag belts. That's my early prediction. But let me ask you this as we come to a close here. Who should win women's Money in the Bank?
So the match on Friday is Jade, Naomi, and Nia Jax. Um, I'm going to go ahead and say that Nia is the best women's heel in WWE right now. And if you think that that's unpopular, let me remind you that I define a heel as doing their job and not being cool, right? Like what Seth
Mm-hmm.
is doing as a heel is not my cup of tea. And maybe it's not his fault. They got to change his music and stuff. But a heel that if you're writing a segment, you can go, I need this baby face to get cheered and I need this heel to get booed. And it's not good. The match will not work. The segment will not work unless the crowd hates the heel. Nia is their best go-to as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
part of me says, well, damn, she's got to be in the Money in the Bank match because Roxanne's going to be left doing all the spots at the current. Roxanne's going to take some gnarly bumps as currently constructed. So if she needs to get booed because she's a heel, um, the other three are not going to get booed. Julia may not have a strong reaction one way or another right now, but Roxanne's the only heel in the match. Jade wouldn't get booed. Naomi should win the Money in the Bank. Starting to doubt
Yeah.
formula that they've put up there that's likely, and that makes me sad. I would still have Naomi win it. Um, what's the other match for the sixth competitor? Is it a Raw match?
Yeah. I think
Who's in it?
Naomi, I don't know. They haven't announced it yet. I think Naomi is going to here's what I would do. I would have Naomi in it, and then I would have Sol Roca as the other person. That would be my six.
That's four baby faces, one straight. I mean, I guess Naomi is straight up a heel, but
She's gonna get cheered if she climbs the ladder because everybody wants to see Naomi,
she
kind
deserves
of
it.
win it.
Yeah,
Yeah. The reason is you need somebody to do crazy stuff. And I don't know who else you can find. I mean, you could put Kalani Jordan in it if you want. I don't know if she's a heel, but to me, I think that Naomi has to win this match, and Naomi has to cash in on Tiffany, and then you can start the Naomi Bianca feud, which I think they look. Bianca returns next week. You
Yeah.
know, Bianca has never won Money in the Bank, but I don't think she needs to be in Money in the Bank. I don't even know if she can wrestle because of her fingers. So, um, to me, I would go Naomi wins. Naomi cashes in on Tiffany, and Naomi is going to be the person who loses to Bianca to set up Bianca Rhea next year WrestleMania. That to me is how you play this out. I understand people think Jade should get the title. Look, I like Jade. I think she's improved vastly in the ring, and not every champion needs to be a great worker. But I just think Jade would be better served with a US title and being like a strong, dominant champion and building it up. She's a star. I don't think she needs the top belt. You can make a case. A lot of people didn't think Tiffany needed the top belt, but Tiffany is so over. You can't really argue against that decision. I think
Yeah.
Naomi cashing back on Tiffany, the person who cost Naomi the title to win her own title, is perfect storytelling.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
kind of, yeah.
the briefcase with the caution tape is going to be a great visual, and I don't really see another good winner besides Naomi. I am just a little perplexed at how they're building the match, so maybe that's.
Okay.
But I don't think I don't think any of those other women work as the briefcase holder. Roxanne, there's probably something there, but not with what's going on with Naomi. Yeah,
She doesn't have enough credibility yet, Roxanne. Like
right.
nobody like I feel like Roxanne could be the first person to cash in and actually lose.
Yeah,
Because remember, the women are perfect. No woman has ever held a briefcase and not win the title. So now
yep.
you have to take look, I know this has been thrown out there, and look, our our observers made this point. Rhea Ripley wins. Io, I've never beaten you, SummerSlam. I would hate that. With all the fiber in my body, I would hate that.
Yeah. Well, she
But
doesn't need the Money in the Bank briefcase to do that. She just gets the collar matches, kind of how she got into the Mania
yeah,
match, right?
that's a good point. That's a good point. But to me, Rhea Ripley is the last woman on earth that needs a Money in the Bank win. Like
Yep.
Rhea Ripley should honestly. Brock had the idea. You've had the idea. It would be nice to see Rhea Ripley have non-belt feuds until she goes after Bianca next year. And honestly, you could make the argument that her and Bianca doesn't need a title. Like
I
with
actually,
her,
yeah,
yeah,
probably the main event it does, but yeah,
yeah. The main event it does, but to me, I feel like that's a match that is Undertaker Michaels. Like you don't need a belt. You just need the two women. They can get the promos in. They could get the video packages. They have the aura. It's perfect. So as we wrap here, we have a big week coming up. We'll be in person, AEW Dynamite. We'll be filming a lot of footage. Mercedes, if you're out there, you know, we'd love to get you on on the feed somehow. But we're gonna be ringside. We will have a lot of content to post,
yep,
and you know, we are excited for what is in store for the summer for women's wrestling. It feels like the women are going to dominate the summer. We have Evolution, we have All In, we have Money in the Bank coming up here, not this weekend, but next weekend. How so soon? Um, any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, to add to that, it looks like AEW's building a women's tag division, which hopefully will come with belts that I would think would be crowned at All In. So we will unpack that a little bit. Maybe we'll learn more about that as the weeks come. Um, I'd love to see someone threw out, do you do a tournament or do you do like a multi-women like ladder match for it? And I think if Willow and Chris are going to be the winners, them winning a ladder match at All In would be fantastic. That's not my idea. I don't remember who put that out on Twitter, but I thought that was a cool visual. But no, lots of good stuff upcoming. Um, will we get Tony Mercedes in their first kind of real segment together on Wednesday, or will they hold off a little bit? We'll be there in person to see.
Oh, I
Um,
think you're getting. I think you're getting it.
well, we will be happy to see that in person. And again, appreciate everyone listening. All the support again is appreciated. We've got some cool stuff coming. Maybe a logo that will be debuting soon, and again, some good live content. So appreciate
And
everybody's support.
two t-shirts coming up in the summer giveaways that I have right here. Um, Last thing, we said it at the beginning, please subscribe, YouTube, Spotify.
Yep.
The subscribe button is very important. Please press it. It helps us grow our platform. It helps us grow to be able to do more things, attend more events, etc. for all of you, which we want to do. And look, women's wrestling is hot right now. It is a hot commodity. The genre
Biggest growth area of
is
the business.
yep. And we want to be there with you to grow with it. So if you want an unfiltered, unbiased, positive view of women's wrestling, this is the place to be. We will see you guys next week where we will have a live update on how the Dynamite experience was. Until then, see you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.